Hello, fellow human! Welcome back to another Dangdor / Entitled Parents videos. During your teenage years, how often did you have sleepovers? Or your parents were just too strict to allow it? The first story is posted by you/Shanko Wolf. Who knew teenage sleepovers were so dangerous? My daughter had a friend over for a sleepover last weekend. They are both 13 years old girl. It was all fairly standard stuff. Watch crappy movies, stay up late, eat too much junk food, you know the drill. Both kids seemed to have a nice time and the visiting kid was nice enough for someone else's teenage child. And I really didn't think too much more about it. Until the friend's mother called me on a Sunday night, absolutely outraged over what I had done while her child was in my care. Was it allowing them to stay up late? Was it the junk food? Was it the choice of film that I allowed them to watch? No, my crime was far worse than that. Imagine the mother's horror when she discovered I had allowed her child to, wait for it, drink tap water. Turns out only bottled water is acceptable for her family. Now, I know in some places there are issues drinking tap water. We live in an era with excellent tap water quality, so I was kinda baffled what the issue was. I told her, our tap water is fine and your kid didn't say anything at the time. But no, that wasn't good enough. You see, tap water has toxins in it. It's not safe, and her family only drinks bottled water and she is frankly shocked and disturbed that her child was associating with a child of such an awful parent. And that I could rest assured that she would be calling the CPS first thing Monday to have my child removed from such a harmful environment. I was just kind of stunned and didn't really say anything, and she hung up on me. I'd love to know where she thinks bottled water companies get their water from, and second, we're in Australia, and CPS isn't a thing here. So yeah, they're out of there. So last night, my wife and I went to an arena concert of a band that we both idolized from childhood. 2 of 4 original members, still a fun show, and the lead guitarist is still amazing. My daughter and her friend from last week incident have recently discovered the band, and kind of fangirled out last weekend when we mentioned we were seeing them this weekend. We were sold the tickets by another friend who couldn't go, so we only had 2 tickets. If we had the means, I would have liked to take my daughters, but it didn't work out that way. So we bought a bunch of overpriced merch, as you do, including a t-shirt for our daughter, and a matching one for her friend with a crazy bottled water mother. I thought it would be nice, no hard feelings gesture, certainly to the kid, and hopefully to the mother. My daughter took off her bike to her friend's house first thing in the morning to give her the shirt and hang out listening to a 40 years old song that were cool before I was born. So guess who just called? Was she calling me to say thanks for the nice gift for her kid and apologize for overreacting last weekend? No, she wasn't. Her family doesn't need charity. And she's more than capable of buying her child clothes if she needs them. And even so, she wouldn't buy her child clothes advertising something so vile. And I can rest assured that this seems to be a go-to phrase, that she has thrown the shirt into the rubbish, and that she will thank me to stay out of her family business. And with that, she hung up on me. Talk about no good deed goes unpunished. Oh god, that is awful. I don't really know any good advice for you aside from just stop being nice to the entitled mother and her family. We have here the second story written by you/Kind Red Flame. Your yard is now our park. My partner and I purchased the house next door to my best friend. I had lived with him for close to a decade when his kids were babies. So they viewed my house as an extension of theirs and were in and out all day, every day. I have more flexible schedule than he and his wife, so I have them in the mornings after school and on days off of school. I had a pool in my yard, and because my friend's kids were still little, I installed a retractable cover and made sure it was locked so they couldn't open it. My friend's yard had one of those wood fort climbing wall, swing set deals, and a large sandbox. Throughout the year, we spent most of the evening outside grilling, drinking, and watching the kids play, swim, whatever. One summer day, I came home from work a little earlier than normal and started to prep for dinner. I heard a knock at my back door, which was odd, since my buddy's kids never knocked. I went to see who it was and discovered a mom and 2 kids who looked maybe 5 to 7 years old. As I opened the door, she informed me that her kids needed to use the bathroom and that I needed to come out and get the cover off my pool. I was confused and asked her to repeat herself, and she said that her kids needed to pee and that they were hot and bored with playing the sandbox, so I needed to open up my pool. I asked her why she was in my friend's yard and what made her think her kids were welcome to swim in my pool or use my bathroom for that matter. She got really trampy and told me that she had moved into the house behind us and that she had watched my buddy's kids come over all the time and I opened the pool for them. She insisted that since I was willing to open my pool for the kids next door, I should also open it for the children who lived behind me. I tried to explain the relationship between my best friend's family and mine. She claimed it didn't matter and that I had known them since birth and pretty much had helped raise them. I just needed to get to know her kids too and it would be okay. I told her no and closed the door on her. She spent a while knocking and fussing at me through the window. And then her kids pee in a planter on the side of the patio. When I still didn't react, she took her kids back into my friend's yard to play on the swings. I texted him to let him know what was going on. Right at that moment, he was letting his 300 plus pounds worth of new flies out into the yard without noticing the unwelcome visitors. The mom starts shrieking and climbs up to the fort, leaving the both kids on the swing. She starts demanding that we put the dogs inside, and how dare my friends let the dog out into his own yard when her kids are clearly playing there. He tells her to GTFO and calls the police. When the cops arrive, she put on the whole waterworks about how her kids were just looking for friends and my buddy's kids are somehow bullying her kids even though they'd never met. That he invited her over just to let his dog attack her children, blah blah blah. They eventually move her back onto her own property and then come back later to tell us that they warned her about coming back. She lived in that house for almost a year before she and her husband divorced. During that year, I had to replace the lock over the pool cover controls 3 times, have a fencing company remove a gate at the back of my property that was meant to let the lawn mower though, and eventually pay a security company to come check on my yard anytime we were going to be away for more than a few hours. We found her and her kids in our yards repeatedly, but she'd leave when we got home. What finally resolved the issue was my partner catching her in the pool. She told him she knew the man that owned the house and that he told her it was okay to swim. He told her that he was married to the man that owned the pool and that it's not okay to swim. She apparently had a bad reaction to realizing she was immersing her sons in homosexual water. We didn't see her again after that. Wait, what? She believes that the chemical in the water will alter her son's gender? What is wrong with M? Next up, we have the third story. At 2 days past my due date, I shouldn't have used the expectant mother's parents with small children parking slot. My pregnancy was okay up until last month. It was 95 degrees outside, I was retaining so much water, my sandals hardly fit on the biggest setting, and I was constantly in pain. It sucked. I waddle to the store for a couple of last minutes things for baby. And I was so relieved that there was a parking spot for pregos and parents near the entrance. I pulled in and took a few moments to chug water and gather my things when I noticed a car pull up to my left. They were half in handicap parking stall and yelling something out a window. I rolled my window down here. You shouldn't be in that spot. You don't have kids. My son shouldn't have to walk from the back of the parking lot, or something to that effect. I was a little stunned to be yelled at, to be honest. I calmly told her that I was very pregnant, and this stall was for pregnant women too. She kept talking to her son, but at me. You know what I mean? Sorry, son. You have to walk in the heat because this lady parked in our spot. So I opened my door and hoisted my giant landwheel-esque body out of my car. She was still turned around, talking to her son, and when she finally saw me, I was about 3 feet away from her window. I bent down, I tilted my head down and said, "Do you see how pregnant I am? I think your son will be okay walking." And then I saw the son, he was like, 7? The kid can walk. She just signed and drove away, and I was so pissed. I wish I had said more to her. Not to mention that the parking spot doesn't belong to her by default just because she has a child. Moving on to the fourth story shared by u/Manuel General Music. I want my son to ride the limousine. Sure, if he has a coffin to be in. This happened a couple of weeks ago. It was the day of my grandfather's funeral. She died in a hospital, and I was outside talking to the owner of the funeral company. This dude was also my godfather, and I had a very good relationship with him. It might sound weird that my godfather is the owner of the funeral company, but to me, it's not. He's known to me since I was a baby, and he treated me like I was his son. Also, to me, his job is just like any other job, and it even has its benefits. Anyways, here we go. I was, and still am, 17. This story's cast is M, entitled mother, GF, my godfather, not girlfriend, EK, entitled kid, even though he doesn't play a huge role in this story, me, yours truly. We were just outside the hospital talking to each other. Parked in front of us were all of the company's vehicles, including the ones you're all thinking about. All of a sudden, M approached us. M, hello? Me, hello. M had her kid just next to her, and he was holding a drink. M, I was wondering if my son could take a ride on the limousine. She then pointed her finger to the ears. I think it's called that in English. It took me a while to respond for 2 reasons. The first one because that day I had so many thoughts going through my head, and a stranger coming to me out of nowhere caught me by surprise. I am a very introverted person, and I find it difficult to talk to people I don't know. The second reason was because I was holding my laugh. She legitimately thought that the hearse was a limousine. Me, I'm sorry to say this, but that is not. And are you going to say no to a little child? At this point, I don't know what to say. Me, miss, believe me, you don't want your son to go in that thing. And, why are you so stingy? Even if he spills drink in the limousine, it won't be a problem. You still have enough money to buy a limousine, so you'll be surely have enough to clean it. This is when my godfather gets in. Godfather, excuse me, miss, what do you want to do? M, I want my son to ride the limousine. My godfather then said the most epic things I've ever heard. Godfather thinks for a bit. Well, sure, he can ride the limousine, but only if he has a coffin to be in. M is a bit confused about the response, and she takes a good second to look at the limousine, and then she realized that I have no idea how she confused a hearse for a limousine. Perhaps the company logo was out of her view or something. However, when she realized the mistake, her skin got pale, and she just walked away as fast as she can with her kid. Me and the godfather just look at each other and start laughing. Dang, that's a good comeback. The 5th story is shared by u/. It's a habit of mine. L tells my husband not to order for me or for me to use sign language. Here's a little story of me, so this makes more sense. I'm nonverbal due to an injury and communicate exclusively via writing and sign language, unless I want to feel like I'm pouring half-molten nails down my throat. DH, my husband. M, entitled mother. PK, poor kid. I love eating at restaurants. Denny's, Applebee's, little family-owned Mexican and Chinese place. With that means that I gotta get my food, which my husband typically orders for me, to avoid me playing a game of charades with a waiter and waitress. We were eating out and apparently this was wrong. So we were getting our food and this little kid near us, maybe like 8 or 9 years old, was watching us since the restaurant was fairly empty. Right after the server leaves, the kid can be audibly heard speaking with his mother, a woman probably in her mid to late 40s. Mommy, what about her? She wasn't paying attention, I'd assume. What was that, PK? PK, he ordered for both of them. M, he what? PK, their girl didn't talk to him. M, that is not right. Let's go and see if there's a reason, PK. At this point, she takes a step forward to us, PK and Tao. M, hi, how are you? DH, hello. M, who is this? She mentions towards me. Your girlfriend? DH, close enough. Do you need something? M, do you do that often? Do what often? M, order for her? DH, all the time. M, could you please stop that? DH, I'd rather not. M, I'm asking nicely. PK, can she not talk? DH, basic. M cuts him off. Just don't do it again. I don't want my kid to grow up to be some kind of barbarian. DH, no. Feel free to leave us alone. She leaves with a huff, and that seemed to be it for the night at first. As we got our food, we start talking and signing. Both clearly a little confused about this strange woman issue was. Now, when I'm saying crazy in sign language, I use the ever-known finger to point at crazy, which I happen to start using right before as she reapproaches us. M, what are you two doing? DH, please go away, ma'am. M, I'm not going to let you teach my kids gang sign, so stop it. DH, We're not teaching anything. It's... I don't care what it is. Stop it. Just talk like normal people. She physically put air quotes on the word talk, classy. She soon walked away and we continued our conversation with her angrily staring at us and trying to shield her kid from the terrific gang signs up until they left. On behalf of all of the people who don't talk, I'd like to apologize for encouraging gang culture. Sarcasm. On to the final story shared by u/. I'm allergic to fish. My friend's tits are offensive to M. So, basic information. Me and my best friend were in a beach, just chilling. One thing I need to inform is that my best friend is on the big-breasted side of the spectrum. So like any big-breasted woman, bikinis are a nightmare to her. She always is stared at, and that makes her really uncomfortable. Now to the story. Me and her were in a more scheduled part of the beach. We had swum, and we decided to sit a bit. When we come back to our chairs, a family has settled down near us. The mom was in her late 30s, and the dad was in his early 50s. They had a child with them, a 9-ish years old boy. We didn't pay mind to them, we just sit on our chair and talk for a bit. I noticed the dad of the family looking at my friend but paid no mind. And I decided to pick something to drink. There was a bar nearby. I asked my friend if she wanted something and she asked me for lemonade. I go to the bar and see the M coming near me. I wait in the line until M comes to talk to me. M and tell the mother, me, a unicorn. M, hi, I saw you and your friend are nearby, me and my family. I just nodded to her. I think your friend is really beautiful, but she's showing too much cleavage. I looked at her, trying to think what to respond to this. Me, well, she can't be faulted for being born with big breasts, can her? She looked at me like she was expecting me to agree with her. M, well, she could not use a bikini that small. She said with a somewhat annoyed voice. Me, she can do whatever she wants, lady. She becomes red at that, and I don't think this woman has ever heard someone disagree with her before. M, she's looking like a tramp. My child will be traumatized. I looked back to where my friend is sitting. I have a clear view of her and the M's family. Her child is doing sandcastle, a cute view I might add, and her husband is staring hard at my friend who was passing sunscreen at the time. So the problem was not her child, but it was her husband. Me, well, I can't do much, lady. Now please leave me alone. Finally, it was my turn, so I picked my drinks and ignored the entitled mother. She wasn't happy about it though. M, don't you dare ignore me, young man. I'm not finished. I just looked at her and I took a sip of my drink before saying, me, lady, your kid isn't even looking at my friend. Your husband, on the other hand. I pointed at her husband, who was staring at my friend with hungry eyes. She looked shocked and just starting to walk to her husband. I go to my friend, gave her a drink, and sit beside her, watching the wife furious whisper to her husband. Not long after, my friend and I decide to leave. I didn't tell my friend about the crazy lady. She has confidence issues enough. At least I didn't see this family ever again. I'm so happy that Unicorn stood up for you and your friends. Such a wholesome creature. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.